Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you here, guys. Today I am finally sharing my thoughts on Eclair from Lattafa. Ever since I have filmed and posted the video where I'm trying out Caramel Cascade from Paris Corner, I received so many questions. Okay, but what do you think about Eclair from Lattafa? How do they compare? Could you compare them in a video? So here is the video. In today's video, not only that I want to share my thoughts on this fragrance as a standalone fragrance, but at the end of the video I also want to compare it to Caramel Cascade from Paris Corner and to tell you if they are similar to my nose, if they are, or if they aren't, what are the differences between the two and which one I prefer much more. So as you guys know, ever since posting that video, I've smelled once Bianco Latte. We have an island here at my local mall that carries, surprisingly, this brand. I smelled it once, and look, because I do not own the fragrance, I'm not gonna base my comparison on which one is more similar to Bianco Latte. However, if you were to ask me which one do I find more similar to Bianco Latte from Giardini di Toscana, I'd say Eclair from Lattafa. But it's not just Eclair from Lattafa. To me, definitely this one, let's just say, follows that sandy direction much more because it has an added electronic accord that I do not detect in this one. But to me also Bianco Latte has something from this fragrance as well, you know, just like when it was with that inspiration of By the Fireplace, yes, from Maison Margiela, and you had Amiral Oud on one hand and Campfire from Paris Corner on the other hand. And to me, none of the two were perfect inspirations. To me, the actual fragrance, like By the Fireplace, had many facets of Amiral Oud, but also had slight facets from Campfire from Paris Corner. Similar situation here, but please keep in mind, I've only smelled that fragrance once. I do not own it. I do not own a decant, so like I've mentioned. So as you guys, let's just start. I will apply this fragrance on my skin. Let me tell you something before, guys. So I received this fragrance on Monday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Today is Thursday when I'm filming the video. I've sprayed it every day ever since. I've smelled it every day. I've smelled it alone. I smelled it compared to this one. So I've tested this fragrance through and through to be able to come here and give you more of an in-depth review, not just like a first impressions. And also, by the way, if you are looking to purchase, I have here a 10 ml decant of Eclair by Lattafa. I purchased this fragrance myself from parfumato.ro. Maybe you have heard me mentioning this website if you have been watching my channel for a while. They are based in Romania, but they ship everywhere in the European Union. They sell brands, they sell some Turkish brands that they bring here in Romania exclusively, like Lorina, like Matte Perfumes, like Gloria Perfumes, and few on, Edosa. And they also sell different Middle Eastern brands. Now they sell a 10 ml decant, and it's around, I paid around 10 or 11 euros for this decant, which is a 10 ml decant, so I guess it's a fair price, I don't know. But in case you want to purchase decant, you can do so on parfumato.ro. So let's just start. I will apply it, you know what, where should I apply it? Yeah, I think I will apply it here on this hand. So let's see. First things first, it's a little bit alcohol in the opening, but I have to say this alcohol blast that you get, in a sense, surprisingly, it's almost like it's put there on purpose because it complements very well that nutty tonka bean in the opening. So to me, in the opening you have that beautiful tonka bean that's very nutty, pretty cold in the opening, but it's sweet and nutty with a blast of alcohol, which almost gives it this boozy effect for a few seconds. So I have to say I'm not mad about it, but this boozy quote-unquote chord disappears pretty fast. Yeah, and as the fragrance, let's just say this is definitely not a linear fragrance. This evolves, you guys, a lot, and the more it stays on your skin, the more it changes. However, it's not like a crazy development, you know, like subtle changes, but they add up at the end, you know. Yeah, in the opening to me is dominated by the tonka bean. Now look, if you have smelled actual tonka beans, like real tonka beans, you know how they smell. You will get the same exact scent profile here in the opening as well. If you have never smelled tonka beans, to me they smell like, how to describe them? So they smell like sugar, like brown sugar in a sense, because it's quite a darker sugary accord with something from an almond and with something from an apricot bit. If you try to picture how these scents would all combine together, to me this is how tonka bean smells like. It's a very dense scent profile. It's a very, in a sense, the scent of tonka beans could be a whole standalone fragrance on its own, because it's a very complex and dense and layered and thick scent profile. You have it here as well. So like I've mentioned, this opens up with that beautiful rich tonka bean, but quickly I also detect a cold lactonic accord. Cold in the opening, because as the fragrance, let's just say, develops and evolves on my skin, and as the fragrance opens up a little bit, I do feel like the overall scent profile goes a little bit warmer. It's just the opening is a little bit more cold. Cold from the tonka bean, cold from this lactonic accord. And as the lactonic accord evolves to me, you guys, so does a gentle honeyed-like sweetness appear out of nowhere in a sense. But when I mean gentle, I mean very gentle. And not just the honeyed facet is gentle. To me, this scent as a standalone fragrance, maybe I had a misconception, because trying Caramel Cascade for the first time, and this being such a heavy and loud fragrance as it is on its own, in a sense I was expecting this fragrance to be the same, just with a more emphasized lactonic accord. However, to me, if I were to say like a quick comparison, this to me is much stronger. Scent wise and strength wise, it's much stronger, but I will get to the actual comparison part in a second. I'm not really sure if this is a batch matter, in a sense that the batch is pretty fresh, I don't know, but to me this is a very soft fragrance. This is a very soft fragrance. If, let's just say, Caramel Cascade screams and shouts to me, Eclair, at least, like I've mentioned, this one, keep in mind, I've had it only for 4 days and maybe the batch is very fresh, I don't know, but to me this feels more like a whisper, you know, it doesn't shout, it feels more like a whisper. But this aspect actually makes it much more wearable compared to Caramel Cascade, because for the other one, let's just say that it's not that easy to blind buy type of fragrance. It can be a love or hate type of fragrance, whereas with this fragrance, to me, this is much safer, much more easier to wear because of this aspect. So yeah, as the scent stays on your skin, like I've mentioned, you guys, from being very cold in the opening, the overall scent profile goes very warm. It's almost like it melted in your skin and it absorbed the warmth from your skin, you know. And now to me, what happens, that very pronounced nutty tonka bean facet that you had in the opening slowly but surely moves in the background, and to me it leaves a lot of room for the lactonic accord to shine. And in a sense, the lactonic accord gets stronger and stronger, still maintaining this somehow of a muted, subtle quality about it. It doesn't scream again. It's a whisper in a sense, you know, and that beautiful honeyed sweetness evolves even more. And in a sense, to me, it starts to smell like, to put it in a few very simplistic words, it starts to smell like a glass of warm milk with a little bit of honey, a little bit of powdered sugar, because I also detect this powdery quality, but it's a powdery, like that specific powdered sugar kind of powdery quality, not powdery musky, not makeup powder, not powdery irisy, nothing like this. It's a powdery sugary quality in a sense. So you add a few teaspoons of powdered sugar, and then at the end you grate a little bit of tonka bean, because you still get that beautiful nutty quality of the tonka bean that feels again very rich and dense and full-bodied, but in a sense it peaks through that lactonic accord. So to me, the lactonic accord is definitely the main accord that I detect as this fragrance reaches the heart, and from the heart till the dry down. To me, the lactonic accord is the main star of the show, let's just say, and all the other sweet gourmand accords, think the honey. Also, I start to detect a lot of vanilla as the fragrance evolves. So you have this honeyed vanillic-like combo with the tonka bean. They add different types of sweetness to the fragrance. Now, even though you might hear me saying all these accords add different type of sweetness to the fragrance, I still do not find this fragrance overly sweet. Not to say that this is not a sweet fragrance, because it definitely is a sweet fragrance, you guys. It's just, again, the overall scent profile, it's muted, and in a sense you get peaks of sweetness through that lactonic accord. So in a sense, the sweetness feels like it's a little bit more stretched, you know, it's almost like it's diluted a bit by that lactonic facet. So it's not like a sickly sweet fragrance, or that kind of sweetness that you need to have a very acquired taste to appreciate that level of sweetness in a fragrance. To me, I don't find this fragrance challenging at all. I do think it's a beautiful fragrance. Let me tell you how it smells from the heart till the dry down, and then I will tell you what I actually think about this fragrance. See, now not a lot of changes are happening from the heart till the dry down. Like I told you, in the heart it smells like a glass of warm milk with a little bit of honey. Those are the two dominant accords I detect to my nose, with a little bit of vanilla in the background, but the vanilla doesn't even shine as much to me. It's that powdered sugar that actually shines a little bit more, and those gentle traces of a grated tonka bean. Like if you were to imagine this fragrance as a drink, this would be the drink to me. What happens from the heart till the dry down, the fragrance still follows a pretty similar direction. In terms of how it evolves, it's still that lactonic accord that's the most dominant to my nose. It's just the overall fragrance goes a little bit drier. In a sense, I also start to detect some musky facets throughout the scent composition, and the overall fragrance just goes softer and softer and softer. I'm not even sure if I get the last bits of the dry down on my skin, in all honesty, because on my skin it lasts, I'd say, 3 hours at this moment on. So first few times I tried it, I was pretty disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. But then I sprayed it on my clothes one day. I sprayed it on my skin, but I also sprayed it on like a thicker blouse that I wear when I'm at home, you know. And the next day when I put on that thicker blouse, you know, when I was at home, I remember I sprayed it here. As I was moving my hands, as I was doing things around the house, I kept getting whiffs of this fragrance. I smelled my blouse, and you know how it smelled like, you guys? It legit smelled like milk with a little bit of powdered sugar on top. So maybe that's the last bit of the dry down. I'm not really sure, because again, that scent was after, let's just say, more than 24 hours. So dare I say this is more of a batch thing, I don't know. But anyways, you guys, now let me tell you what I think about this fragrance. So it's a beautiful fragrance. It's a gourmand that feels elevated. It's a gourmand that doesn't feel juvenile at all. It's a gourmand fragrance that you could pretty much wear with all year round, daytime, nighttime. Personally, again, for my taste, it is a little bit simplistic. Not even simplistic, how to describe it, you guys? Like the actual scent, I really enjoy how it smells. It's just a little bit too soft for my liking. So for me, at least at this moment on, this would be more like the fragrance I would use to top up different layering combinations, you know, because the scent itself feels extremely versatile when it comes to layering. You could layer it with so many different fragrances and it would work amazing. Like out of my mind, the combo that I love is this one with Noir for Women from Tom Ford. So in case you have both of these fragrances, definitely give this layering combo a go. But there are plenty of other layering combinations that this one would work. I'd say, you guys, strength wise, it gives me similar strength to Nebras by Lattafa. Some people say Nebras doesn't last at all. Some people say Nebras is a very heavy and oily fragrance, and yeah, I don't know. To me, Nebras, at least compared to other fragrances that I have, longevity-wise is not out of this world, and strength-wise is not the strongest fragrance out there. But again, I generally feel like it depends a lot on what kind of fragrances you wear on a day-to-day basis. Because look, if you are the kind of person you only wear your skin but better, clean, musky fragrances, very gentle, floral, citrusy fragrances, of course for you, if you were to wear something like this, you will perceive it as stronger simply because the fragrance feels very rich and dense, even though it's muted, but it still feels very dense and full-bodied in a way. So for you, from a citrusy, floral, musky fragrance to something like this, which is a gourmand and it has depth and it has richness, even though it has this muted quality, you will perceive it as being stronger. For me, compared to the kind of fragrances that I wear on a day-to-day basis, this to me is definitely on the softer side. Yep, I love how the tonka bean shines here. If you have never smelled tonka bean, I would actually recommend you, if you have the possibility, definitely buy some actual tonka beans and smell them. They smell so good, you guys, and they are so full of flavor, like full of scent. They could be like a whole standalone fragrance just made around a tonka bean accord, you know, and it wouldn't feel boring in a sense. It's a beautiful fragrance. Like I've mentioned, it's a very safe day-to-day fragrance. If you want to feel very feminine, if you want something that's a little bit playful, a little bit flirty, very dainty, very pretty, but without feeling juvenile, because to me this doesn't feel juvenile at all, try this fragrance, you guys. Try this fragrance, but again, start with a sample, start with a decant and see how you feel about it on your skin. I wouldn't say start with a sample only because it's or because it is such a challenging fragrance, because it's not. However, start with a sample to be sure that it's something that you actually enjoy and you would wear, you know. Yeah, by the way, if you have this fragrance, please let me know how to find the performance of this fragrance, and let me know if it improves, let's just say, once the fragrance gets actually a chance to sit a little bit. Yeah. Now let's move on to the comparison part, and let me spray here Caramel Cascade from Paris Corner. But let me just tell you from the start, you guys, Caramel Cascade to me is much stronger. To me, Caramel Cascade doesn't have this muted or like subtle aspect about it. No, if this is a gentle whisper, this screams and shouts, you know. To me, this is much more explosive, much thicker, much denser, you know. It's a fragrance that overall feels definitely way heavier, to my nose at least. And let me spray this fragrance. Yeah, definitely much heavier. See, look, this opens up, you guys. This opens up with the same tonka bean 10 times stronger. Like if here you have a cold tonka bean, here you have again, this fragrance got in my mouth. Oh my god, it doesn't taste that well. Ooh, yeah, this is definitely a stronger fragrance. Like I've mentioned in the review, some people might get slight play-doughy facets from this fragrance. Please don't be scared, because they fade away and then the fragrance just, it's a beautiful fragrance. It's a very beautiful fragrance, not a safe blind buy, but a very beautiful fragrance, and a very loud fragrance, yet that feels like it envelops you in a sense. This fragrance feels like a thick blanket that you just cover yourself with, you know, and it envelops you. This is how this fragrance is to me. So right from the opening, I do detect differences. To me, this fragrance, Caramel Cascade from Paris Corner, opens up in a pretty different way. You remember how I said that Eclair from Lattafa opens up with a boozy, cold tonka bean accord, and then it's quickly followed by this lactonic accord? Well, to me, Caramel Cascade opens up with the same nutty accord. It's just like 10 times stronger. It feels like you dip your nose into a bag full of tonka beans. You know, you get a lot of that beautiful and quite addictive tonka bean scent. Like I've mentioned, if you never smell tonka bean, to me it smells like brown sugar with something from an almondy facet, and with something, you know, that smell of apricot pit. I hope pit is called in English. Like after you break that hard shell and you get to the actual pit inside, if you know that smell, to me, something like this with a touch of something vanillic, and it's very round and a little bit darker. This is how actual tonka bean smells like. So you get a lot of this quality. So it starts off very sugary, very nutty, very dense, very rich, very full-bodied, and then as this fragrance starts to develop on your skin, if, like I've mentioned, in Eclair, the lactonic accord moves forward and slowly but surely starts to dominate, to me here in Caramel Cascade is the tonka bean that definitely dominates this fragrance from the opening up until the dry down to me. And what happens, the honey accord here, you also have in Caramel Cascade a honeyed-like facet that moves forward, and it almost feels like it envelops those beautiful tonka beans, you know. So now you not only get the richness from the tonka bean with that beautiful sugary quality, but you also get a pretty thick, I'd say, honeyed-like sweetness at this moment on. So it legit smells like tonka beans covered in honey at this moment on. That Play-Doh-like facet faded away completely. Again, don't be scared of that undertone, you guys. Don't be scared, because to me it doesn't linger. It doesn't linger. I know it can be pretty like, what is this, you know, like especially if you're blind by this fragrance and you had no idea how this fragrance smells like, how Bianco Latte smells like, you just smell this one on its own, you get that slight Play-Doh facet, you might be a little bit put off. Have faith in this fragrance, have faith. Yeah. And then as the fragrance develops, basically to me, amongst this tonka bean covered in honey, in a beautiful, warm, thick honey coating. I also detect a caramel accord, the caramel like a caramel vanillic accord, but the caramel from time to time it can come off as slightly burnt in a sense. Yeah, but this overall, I'd say texture wise, it's a very warm fragrance, much warmer than Eclair from Lattafa. Yeah, definitely much warmer. See, when I smell this fragrance as a standalone fragrance, I feel like it's a warm fragrance. When I smell this fragrance, Caramel Cascade, then I go in and I smell Eclair, all of a sudden seems like a pretty cold fragrance to my nose. So Caramel Cascade, it's a very warm fragrance, 10 times stronger, like that tonka bean, 10 times stronger. The overall scent, keep in mind, it doesn't have that muted quality. It's a pretty loud fragrance. It's the kind of fragrance that envelops you. It's the kind of fragrance that, again, that lingers in the air, that travels in the room wherever you spray this fragrance. This is not a fragrance for those who want more softer fragrances, especially comparing these two side by side. This definitely is so much stronger. And it lacks that lactonic accord. Personally, to my nose, I get nothing lactonic. I do detect a creamy accord, but it's a creamy thing, creamy, nutty, creamy caramel, creamy honey, that kind of creaminess. In a sense, it's creamy because it feels very round around the edges. It doesn't feel like it has any harsh edges to my nose. And that's why to me, it's a pretty round composition, round and creamy in a sense, but it's not creamy in a lactonic way. For instance, I get nothing lactonic coming from this fragrance, but this is overall much stronger, much thicker, much more robust, much denser, much heavier. Like I've mentioned, this has a muted, subtle quality about it. This screams and this shouts, you know. So yeah, I feel like these are the main differences that I detect. Similarities to me, the similarity is the tonka bean. To me, this beautiful nutty tonka bean is what ties Eclair to Bianco Latte. Look, even though Eclair has plenty of other accords that tie this fragrance to Bianco Latte, but it's the accord that ties Caramel Cascade to Bianco Latte as well, and that honey-like sweetness. But after this, the way, let's just say, these accords are blended in Eclair, it results into a certain fragrance and to a certain scent profile, and the way these accords are blended in Caramel Cascade, it results in a slightly bit of a different scent profile to me. Definitely, would it be redundant to have both? I think no. I think they are different enough to be judged, let's just say, as two different fragrances. At least to my nose, they are different enough. If, let's just say, I would have to smell them with my eyes closed, I could definitely tell them apart. It's not like, oh, they are so similar, I don't know which one is which. No, like I could easily tell them apart, even just by how they open up and then how they develop and then how they dry down, you know. To me, this one, Caramel Cascade, even on clothes, it lingers, the tonka bean lingers, you guys. But look, to me, because this tonka bean lingers and because the overall fragrance is much warmer and denser, to me, this could easily work as an all-year-round fragrance. You could wear it in high heat, if you have a taste for it, of course, but it's the kind of fragrance that works amazing in cold weather, like autumn, winter, when it's like 0 degrees Celsius in winter or below 0 degrees Celsius. To me, this is the kind of fragrance that could face those kind of temperatures, because all in all, it just feels richer and denser and thicker, you know? Whereas Eclair from Lattafa, to me, I'd say it's more of a spring, summer, early days of autumn, because at least, look, I am judging it based on how it smells now. I don't know how it will evolve, okay? Maybe I will give you an update, but based on how it smells now, at least where I live, this one in winter, like you wouldn't be able to smell it. Like when it's really cold outside, you wouldn't be able to smell it, you know? Yeah. So these were pretty much my thoughts about these two fragrances. Like I've mentioned, they have similarities, but they have plenty of differences. Which one do I prefer? I feel like at this moment on, I honestly prefer this one, but maybe because it started to get pretty cold where I live, and I feel like this one doesn't, it just doesn't last, you guys. It doesn't last. Yeah. I don't know. I do have to test a little bit more the performance, but I don't want to come here and tell you that is the fragrance that doesn't last at all, because again, keep in mind, I just got this fragrance and I'm guessing it's a pretty fresh batch, because the fragrance was out of stock for a while on their website, and when they have restocked it, I'm guessing that's when they brought in new batches and they made these decants. So like I've mentioned, those are my thoughts about these two fragrances. Now, is it redundant to have both? No. I don't think it is, you guys. Even though both are an inspiration to the same fragrance, to Bianco Latte from Giardini di Toscana, I actually don't think it is redundant to have both. I feel like I would reach for these fragrances on very different occasions. For instance, I could definitely see myself reaching for Caramel Cascade on a night out with my girls out in town, you know, perhaps we go to a restaurant. I wanted to say we go to a club, but I haven't been clubbing in ages, honestly. But we go out during nighttime. I could definitely see myself wearing this one on a night out because it feels rich enough, dense enough, thick enough. It feels heavier, all in all. It's just heavier, stronger, richer, more full-bodied, more complex, thicker, all in all. Whereas this fragrance, I could see myself wearing it if I were to wear it alone only during daytime. To me, it lacks that richness, that something added that makes it suitable for a night out with my friends, with my partner, with, you know, with my whoever I go out with. I'd say I prefer, at least for my taste, heavier fragrances on a night out or just when I'm going out, all in all, during the night. But this one, it's a pretty chic, again, elevated gourmand for a day-to-day basis when you want to feel very feminine, when you want to feel very dainty and pretty, a little bit flirty, a little bit playful, very put together, and you still want to smell sweet, but without smelling extremely sweet or sickly sweet or a sweetness that leans juvenile. Because, by the way, I don't find this one juvenile at all, at all, at all, at all. Yeah, that's the occasion, you know, so more like a different kind of event during the daytime. However, for this one, I could definitely see myself wearing it on a night out as well. Thank you so much for watching. This is everything I wanted to say. Again, if you have both of these fragrances, please let me know which one do you prefer. Let me know how do they compare, to you. Like I always say, guys, not only that I would love to know it, but I'm sure everyone who's watching this video and is interested in purchasing either Eclair, either to hear how Eclair compares to Caramel Cascade, they could really use your feedback as well, because fragrance at the end of the day is extremely subjective. I will see you in my next video, but until then, I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye, guys.